You know how it is. You're using some new AI tool, and 1 second it's pure genius, and the next it's just weird, right? It might make stuff up, the costs can suddenly go through the roof, or it'll just give you a totally bizarre answer. So, for anyone building with this tech, the big question is how in the world do you control all that chaos? Well, that's what we're going to dig into. So here's the plan. First, we're going to talk about why AI can be so unpredictable. Then we'll get into this really cool solution called the LLM-Judge. We'll look at the different ways it works, how to write the perfect instructions for it, and how it all fits into, keeping these AI systems in check. And then we'll wrap it all up with the final verdict. All right, let's set the scene. LLMs, right? They're powering everything these days. But here's the thing. Trying to figure out if their output is actually good, that's super tricky. I mean, there can be a bunch of right answers, and things like tone or style, that's all subjective and really, really hard to nail down. Okay, take a look at this. An AI might spit out something like, renewable energy is great because it's obviously the only responsible choice. See, it sounds so confident, right? But words like obviously and responsible, those are opinions, not facts. And this isn't just some tiny little mistake. It's a huge red flag for the kind of bias that can sneak into these systems and make them totally unreliable. And trust me, this is not a rare thing. The folks building these products are in a constant battle with a whole host of issues. You've got hallucinations, where the model literally just makes things up. You've got costs and latency that can just spike out of nowhere. And then you have people trying to trick the AI with prompt injections. The list just keeps going. These aren't just little bugs, they're major fundamental hurdles. So, that leads to the million-dollar question, right? You can't have a human check every single AI response. That's just impossible at scale. So, how do you keep the quality high? How do you put up guardrails for a system that's designed to be a little bit unpredictable? Well, the answer is kind of brilliant and a little bit ironic. What if you took the exact same technology that's causing all this chaos and used it to fix the chaos? That's the big idea behind something called the LLM-Judge. You literally use one AI to grade another AI's homework. So, here's the nuts and bolts of it. The whole LLM-as-a-Judge thing is a technique where you take what one AI generates and you feed it to a second AI. But, and this is the important part, you give that second AI a very specific set of instructions, what we call an evaluation prompt. You're basically telling it, hey, you're the referee now. I need you to check this text and tell me if it follows my rules. Like, is it polite or did it make up facts? Now you might be thinking, wait a minute. If an AI can be wrong, why would we trust another AI to grade it? And that's a fair question. But think about it like this. It's almost always easier to critique something than it is to create it from scratch, right? Like, a food critic can tell you if a dish is too salty without knowing how to be a 5-star chef. It's the same idea here. We're not asking the judge AI to write a perfect answer. We're just asking it to do a much simpler job. Look at an existing answer and tell us if it meets certain criteria. Okay, so how do you actually do this? Well, there are basically 3 main ways you can use an LLM as a judge. Think of these as the main tools you've got in your evaluation toolkit. First up, you've got what's called a pairwise comparison. This is basically an AI bake-off. You give the judge 2 different responses, maybe from 2 different AI models, and you just ask, which one's better and why? It's a straight-up A/B test. And what's wild is that studies show these AI judges agree with human reviewers over 80% of the time, which is just incredible for testing new prompts or models. Next, we have single scoring, but this one is reference-free. That's a key phrase. It means you don't need a perfect golden standard answer to compare against. You just hand the judge a single AI response and a scorecard. You tell it, hey, on a scale of 1 to 5, how polite is this? Or is the tone professional? This is a game changer for automatically checking the quality of your AI live in the wild. And the third method is also single scoring, but this time it's reference-based. And this is your number 1 weapon against hallucinations. Here's how it works. You give the judge the AI's answer, but you also give it the original source material, the document it was supposed to be using. Then you ask a super simple question. Does the answer stick to the facts in this source document? The judge just has to say yes or no, faithful or not faithful. And just like that, you've got an automated fact checker. Okay, so this all sounds great, but there's a catch, a big one. None of this works if your instructions for the judge are garbage. The quality of the judgment is 100% dependent on the quality of the prompt you give it. You have to be crystal clear. So here are some pro tips for writing those prompts. First, stick to simple yes-no questions whenever you can. It's way more reliable. If you need to check for a bunch of different things, don't cram them into one prompt, split them up. And if you're using a scoring system, you have to define exactly what a 5 out of 5 means. But maybe the most powerful trick is to ask the judge to explain its reasoning before it gives you the final score. It forces the AI to think more logically and really boosts the accuracy. Just to show you what I mean, here is a perfect example of a terrible prompt. Just asking, is this response good? That's useless. What does good even mean? It's totally subjective. The AI is just going to have to guess, and your results will be all over the place. Okay, now look at this. This is a much better prompt. It uses that chain of thought technique we just talked about. See how it walks the AI through the steps? First, do this. Second, do that. Now, based on your analysis, give me a simple yes or no. You're forcing it to show its work before it gives you the answer. This little tweak makes a huge difference in accuracy, and it gives you a trail of logic you can actually check. All right, let's pull back and look at the big picture. This LLM-Judge thing isn't just for running a few tests here and there. It's actually a key piece of a much bigger idea called LLM observability. Think of it like building a mission control room for your AI, so you can see exactly what's happening while it's live. And it's really important to get the difference between old school monitoring and this new idea of observability. See, monitoring just tells you that something broke. You get an alert, error rate is up. That's it. Observability helps you figure out why it broke. It lets you dig in and trace the problem all the way back to, say, a tiny change you made in a prompt last Tuesday that's only affecting users in Australia. It lets you answer questions you didn't even know you should be asking. And this right here is what that mission control looks like. Those LLM judges are working behind the scenes, feeding all the data to a dashboard like this. So instead of just watching server status, you're tracking things that actually matter for AI quality. You can literally watch your hallucination rate in real time. You can even create a metric for user frustration to see if people are getting annoyed. This is how you go from just launching an AI to actually managing it like a pro. All right, we've been through a lot, so what's the final takeaway? Is using an AI to judge another AI a good idea? Let's look at the pros, the cons, and what's coming next. On the plus side, the benefits are huge. It's fast, it scales, and it's way cheaper than hiring an army of humans to check everything. And you can customize it to check for pretty much anything you can dream up. But it's not a magic bullet. These AI judges can have their own weird biases. Like sometimes they just seem to prefer longer answers for no good reason. And you have to think about privacy if you're sending your data to an external API. Plus, while it's cheaper than humans, the costs can still rack up if you're doing it a billion times a day. So at the end of the day, you gotta remember, the LLM Judge is not a silver bullet that solves everything. Think of it as one really, really powerful tool in a bigger toolbox. The best teams out there are using a mix of everything. These automated AI judges, some smart, targeted reviews by actual people, and, of course, listening to what their users are actually saying about the product. And that brings us to one last kind of mind-bending question to leave you with. If we're using AI to judge other AI, well, who judges the judges? It's this infinite loop that really gets to the core of how we're going to trust and govern these systems as they get more and more powerful.